Hello students, welcome to UGC countrywide class on educational psychology. As you know, the focus of such classes has been learning activity in a school. And even earlier I have talked about different dimensions which are connected directly or indirectly with learning. It is widely known, globally known that development is a process which connects itself with goodness or badness, rightness or wrongness of a learning system. And in a way, learning happens to be a function of maturation. And once we talk about maturation, is how people develop. In this class, we'll be particularly talking on social and moral development. Perhaps this should be the most important aspect of human development. That's why we are actually understanding human development. And you see, once we talk of social development, perhaps you may get an impression that as physical is a tangible kind of thing, as intellectual can be tested, you see, or if you try emotional development, you may have a number of theories which have been presented already, you may talk about them. But once you talk of social development, do we have some observable phenomena in which we can say that a child is growing socially? And yes, answer is yes. That is, social development starts while the child learns to function socially. So it is in a way social functioning, and it is result, and the result is known to us, that is behavior. And these social conditions are imbibed, are internalized by the child on the same principles which you are familiar with, that is principles of association, principle of conditioning and habit formation are practice. So these principles, even these laws, govern our social behavior within a particular social phenomena. But as you see, if you just refer back to physical development or biological development, you will find that there's a lot more speedy growth and development during earlier years. Or even if you talk of intellectual cognitive development, then we have told you that cognitive development and it is whole picture or the blueprint is prepared by 7th year of one's age. But it is only in social development that it's slow. In the beginning it is very slow. So it progresses toward maturity. It's not as rapid, as speedy as physical growth. What is happening is that one's child is in home, and home happens to be the foremost agency of socialization, in which the child would start looking at others' behaviors. You have father there, mother there, siblings, small brothers, relatives, number of people coming and going in a particular family or in a particular home. And all these things are being watched by the person who is developing physically, intellectually and socially. Now the result of this kind of responding characteristic of the child is he picks up his own behavioral process, starts responding. And as you know, that most important developmental process or developmental condition is the conceptual or the language development. And once we find that the child is able to develop his language, is able to talk to others, it is through this communication process that he learns which are the kind of behaviors which are accepted and which are the kind of behaviors which are not accepted. So this acceptance and non-acceptance is generally referred to internalization of norms. The child slowly, gradually, progressively learns to conform to set norms, maybe individualistic norms of a particular family, or the norms in a school, or the norms being respected in society as a whole. So these norms are internalized, imbibed, are learned by the child. And soon as he learns to conform to the norms, he finds that his behavior is being accepted. And if there is some kind of deviation or going away from the norm, then perhaps he may get some kind of punishment, or sometimes a severe kind of punishment, because he is derailing himself from accepted behavior. So in a way, therefore, a socialization process is actually conforming to certain norms. Now here I would like to make a small digression. That is, there are three ways in which people start learning to behave in a social phenomenon like home or outside. And these three ways are: one is simple, that he learns to conform. So once he learns to conform, there is no problem. So throughout his life he starts a life of a conformist, therefore he will find much less experiences of anxiety, agony or dread and fear. But then there is another way, that some people, some children have their own special, individual kind of optimism or individual kind of understanding, that they would not conform to the regular set norms. And these set norms, once he is not able to conform to them, you may ask why it is not being conformed. The answer would be that he would like to have kind of modification. He would accept the norms with some amount of modification, and that if that modification which he suggests in the norm is acceptable to others who are directly related with the child, of course this modification goes, and norm as modified norm is being taken up by the child. This is second. And the third way is revolutionizing. That is, he would not accept the earlier norm, he would not get it in a modified manner, and he is not prepared to have any set of norms which is there available in the home or society at large. Therefore what he does, he revolutionizes. He has his own set of norms. But this kind of characteristic of individual is very, very rare. Amongst thousands of people, there can be one single case that comes as a reformer, but then generally the rule that is prevalent is conformity to given set cultural and social norms. Now if you take the child out of the home situation where he started beginning and he goes to the school, you will take another most important social agent or agent of society to socialize the child. Here you will find that the relations which were so limited when the child was in home have now widely extended. It is a question of relationships, interrelationships, connections or connectivities with other persons. The question would be, how would a child coming from a particular type of home work and behave in a particular school? It's a very important question, because throughout research we have found that maybe, as Freud would talk, that it is extension of one's libidinal energy that is socialized. Or you may go to Professor Abraham Maslow, where you'll find whether the basic need structures, that is physiological needs, are being taken care in home in a manner that is acceptable to the child and acceptable to society at large. With that extent he goes to school. What are the behavioral communications, what are the behavioral modifications with which he starts schooling? That's very important. And it has been seen that of course the regular kind of behavior that a child is going to exhibit in a school situation would depend upon the status of the family. How the behavior would be executed would depend from which source, from which type of family to which type of schooling situation a child has gone. But largely, in absence of knowledge of these things, you see, the child would start reacting to others in favor or against. That is, depends upon attitudinal development. And if you just look, that it's not only school then starting as a social agent, you will have outside the media. Now most important socializing agent is taken as the media, whether it is print media, it is electronic media, it is video, whatever. All these things have their own ideal ways in which they transmit information or knowledge to our youth, to our children. They will find even their behavioral things which were otherwise being conducted, influenced primarily by the parents, are now being influenced by other agents also. What stage of development you belong to? You are an adolescent boy or girl, then what are the types of influences you are getting from print or electronic? And those things would interest you in the forms of your own interest, in the forms of your own need, in the forms of your own motivation. To what streams are you motivated to? That would definitely not only add information as such, but that will motivate, that will change, that will give you the kind of look that you would definitely exhibit, demonstrate, manipulate, or have in the society. And then people have always been talking about religion, our church. That's most influential kind of institution that has the impact upon people. And I would talk about this religion, our church, in a detailed form when we find talking on moral development as such. And once you talk of religion, of course, or you talk of church, is actually you are talking of a code of conduct. And that code of conduct appears to children as a programming system. So it programs, religion programs our behavior. Religion programs behavior of children. Sometimes if you find some contradictions in home picked up behavior, school picked up behavior, and what the religion is sanctioned, then depends upon how you assimilate different influences from home, from school to religion. And if you find that the advice or the norm or the standard or the convention that has been set by religion is acceptable in home, school and other situations, no problem, you become a religious man. And that program governs your life process. And then you will be known by the type of religion to which you belong. So therefore, you cannot ignore the influence of religion upon you. Once we talk of socialization as such, and social development as such is, in a way, it is making persons' effectivity in society. The people there should have an impression, here is a person who is emotionally stable. Here is a person who is socially acceptable. Here is a person whose conduct does not harm others. Here is a person who is sympathetic. Here is a person who has a lot of empathy. Here is a person who relates himself with others and finds if there is someone in misery, he extends his full support to him, whatsoever the background he comes from. He can be educationally at the top or the peak of his zenith of his career. He can be professionally so sound and so wonderful, so excellent, that he would hardly like to talk to others. But once he is functioning in a society, you'll find that is a human being. Actually, we are trying to build up a human being. And that is the social order. That final product should be that you have understood social development through different processes of it is, you see, developmental stages, whether it is childhood, it is, adolescence, it is adulthood. Throughout all these things, there is a continuous kind of assimilation, there is a continuous kind of internalization, there is a continuous kind of learning different types of norms in which you make yourself socially effective. And I said that the resultant factor of social effectivity would be development of an individual who was physically a simple flesh that was introduced to the world is now fully functioning, fully operating individual. In a way, you say that here is a human being. And this is in a very small, a brief way that I have given you an idea of social development. Now let us turn to another important aspect of this process. As I said earlier, it is the idea of moral development. And you see, in a way, if you ask me what can be morality, I would not directly refer you to some books or theories on moral behavior or theories connected with development of values. These days, it is largely stressed that value education, that the moral education must become the core of the curriculum. And in fact, we have this new educational curriculum framework 2005, and here again the central focus has been value education or moral education. But let us try to see what is this value education and moral education, though we are convinced that certain things have gone out of our system of understanding, system of learning and education, and we are facing some challenges, and these challenges in the form of increasing delinquency, increasing drug addicts in our society, and people who directly come into conflict with police, and then we have cases of children who are not obeying, children who leave and go away from their homes, and we have cases where we find that people are now not respecting old norms, are not respecting elders, even not respecting their colleagues or their friends. And once we find that this kind of absence is there, what is actually absent? Is it absence of respect for elders or something else? I would say that people think that this is absence of values, absence of morals, though there is a difference between what is a value and what is a moral. See, once we talk of values, you have certain standards in mind, and you find that according to those standards you have to take certain behaviors which would be valued, and you would say that it's a valued behavior. Like for instance, your religion, as I was talking about, religious values, you have economic values, you have social values, you have aesthetic values, you have political values. So which are the values or its hierarchy that you are possessing? But once we talk of morals, here I would like to say that in my opinion, morals are actually adding to the quality of behavior. In terms of goodness, badness, in terms of wrongness and rightness. Which behavior is right, which behavior is wrong, which behavior is good, which behavior is bad. Not only goodness, badness, but even which behavior is beautiful, presentable, and also which behavior is true. So we would say that you have not to be false, you have not to appear to be, you have to appear very true, honest, sincere person. When I say that 3 sets of norms in morality, that is, they call it truth, beauty and goodness. These are to be brought into your behavior, truth, beauty and goodness. Let you have the things of understanding in which you appear to people, and you really work as a person who is not a liar. Not only the test of truth is not only that you are not liar. Test of truth is that if you are a scientist, if you are working in an educational situation, if you are having a theory, you are not giving wrong conclusions to people. You are verifying things from other scientists or others who are falling in your order of understanding. Once you come out with your own ideas, with your own conclusions, you are very true. And you happen to be true. And also, that whatever you present to the world, you present in such a manner in which we find that it is beautiful. And once we say it is beautiful, it is presentable, it has its quality of understanding, you will find people attracted to it. They'll say, here is a person who is not only presenting things, but who is presenting things in such a manner that it directly goes to our heart, and we find that it's love and goodness or badness. So conduct that is good is one which is socially desirable, which is bad is not socially desirable, socially undesirable. So what we try to do is that the child learns from the very beginning which are the things which are otherwise desirable, which are the things which are not desirable. So he would find more attractions to desirable things. And sometimes it happens, there can be a small confusion, things which are not desirable. Maybe they are desirable in the perception of others. Therefore, what is important is to understand that perception from which they think that the undesirable things are desirable. If you ultimately find that undesirable things were those things which were condemned by society for no reason or logic, therefore you may say, no, those things are not undesirable. So what you see, your behavior has to be consistent with the basic standards of ethics. Wherein we talk of moral development, I would give a casual reference to Lawrence Kohlberg, who has worked a lot on moral development. He has given us three different stages, like pre-conventional, then conventional, and post-conventional. So you can have from 0 year to 9 years, you have pre-conventional stage of moral development. From 9 years to 15 years, you have a conventional set of norms, and from 15 onwards to adulthood or even to old age, you have post-conventional norms. Now, when we talk of pre-conventional norms for small children, they don't understand standards, they don't understand norms, they would try to understand models only. So what is always important is to provide a model to the child so that he picks up things. If there is an absence of model or modular behavior, he will not. He will have a conceptual knowledge of things. Yes, okay. He would say that what is true and what is not true, what is desirable and what is not desirable. But he would not have ready references to say that here is a person who is a truthful person, here is a person who is an honest person. So modular behavior is very important during 0 to 9 years of age. That is pre-conventional norms. Now once we enter into the stage like 9 to 15 years, here the conventional. So there are certain conventions which are now understood by our adolescent groups. They understand these norms, these conventions, and start imbibing those norms, conventions for the sake of their own results. Results are they test these norms against reality. They find if they adopt some of the convention, it gives them certain things, and those things are very productive, and therefore he picks up the norm, and he finds that norm in itself is very good. Therefore this conventional system is prevalent or is taken up by our adolescent girls and boys or all others who fall in this period. And then he talks of post-conventional norms or post-conventional era, which is beyond 15 years of age. And here the major work is that of finding a relevance of given set of conventions. That is, those people who are mature enough, old enough, they can even understand what are the theories, what are the principles which govern these conventions. And it is here that the process of modification may begin. It is here that you may re-research things and find a set of conventions in a changed or in a modified form. But then what we talk of morals is certainly that kind of behavior which is qualitatively acceptable. Therefore we try about increasing the quality, and if this quality is increased, then you have a set of values also which these values you are adopting or you have adopted already. Then you will find more comfortable position in which you place yourself and act. This is, in a way, I am concluding this lecture by saying that once I talk of social development, moral development, I am not talking or making absent some of other developments also. That is, an individual who is reacting socially is also reacting intellectually, is also reacting physically, is also reacting emotionally. So all these developmental processes are interwoven together, so that at a moment of time, at a point of time, you can determine what is the contribution of emotion in a particular set of behavior. The person is behaving, he is behaving, and that behavior is quite obvious from his working or operating, but then the behavior he is exhibiting, you can see what is the amount of maturation in that behavior, what is the amount of emotions he has put in that behavior, what is the amount of intellect he is consuming in that behavior. And that way we find that all these developments put together are working and operating together. Now let me conclude today's lecture. I started with talking on social and moral development. In social development is how a child or an individual learns to function in society, and the society presents itself in through different agencies like home, like school, like society as a whole, like religion, like media, number of other institutions you come across. And then we found how these different agents of socialization influence the person. Then we also found how this interactional program, which comes from different agencies, is interwoven in such a manner that specific individual effectivity is exhibited. I said that the social effectivity is a function of well, meaningful, planned social development. And I also did talk about very important, influential factor, which is to look into the background of social transactions, whether they come from what type of status and class, in family, in school, in media, etc. Then we did talk about moral development also. I have to add only that here, once we talk of moral development, it is actually we are talking about the quality of behavior. And quality of behavior in three ways. Its visibility is, it is beauty, its visibility is, it is fairness, goodness, or its visibility is in it is being truthful or not. Thank you very much.